Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
And Matt Jackson.
What's going on, guys?
Not much. We're excited to dig into Kenyon Sadiq tonight. We're finally getting into the tight end position a little bit. We'll be talking about Michael Trigg on the bonus podcast for members only tonight, the Scout Potato podcast. But before we dig in, I got to give congratulations to our Patriots and Seahawks fans that are listening to the show. Made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Personally, I hope it has a better outcome this time. The last time these two teams faced off, my guy Russell Wilson threw an interception on the 1 yard line and was pretty heartbreaking. So, yeah, I'll be pulling for the Seahawks in this one. Needless to say.
I saw someone tweet that the Seahawks need to sign Marshawn Lynch to, like a weak contract so that they can bring him in on the goal line in the Super Bowl and rectify that mistake. I was like,
that would be epic.
I'm personally a little torn about this one because I'm rooting for the Patriots for the first time and I think ever in my life. Like I used to root against the Patriots out of principle, but now Drake May is their quarterback and he's a UNC guy. So for the first time ever, I'm rooting for the Patriots and it feels a little disgusting.
Yeah, UNC guy for me and Rupert, that's all the more reason to root against. So, but I do. I mean, Drake May's fun to watch. He's a good player, even though he is a Tar Heel. But yeah, like I mentioned on today's show, we are continuing our prospect profile series inside the prospect, switching gears from wide receivers to tight ends, and we're going to start that journey with the talented Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Coming out of high school, Sadiq was listed at 6'3", 245 pounds, and was a 4-star prospect, the 79th overall prospect in the nation. And in 2025, his junior year, Sadiq caught 51 out of 67 targets for 560 yards and 8 touchdowns. So Kenyon Sadiq, widely projected to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. In most cases, I'm seeing him projected top 6 to 8 of rookie drafts. So this was really his first year as a starter in college. His first 2 years, he was sitting behind some other good tight ends at Oregon, including Terrence Ferguson, who went in the second round last year to the Rams. But people were kind of chomping at the bit to see this guy get on the field because he's always been talented. He's always been uber athletic, and he got a chance to show that this year. So we're going to dive in. We're going to be looking at Sadiq in comparison to 79 other FBS tight ends with 35 or more targets. That's for our PFF analytics that we're looking at. But primarily, if you know, we do film analysis primarily on this show, and the stats kind of complement that. We think they go hand in hand. Tight end is our first tight end, so I'll go a little bit over our process. It's very similar to receivers. I would say that we give maybe a little bit lower weight to route running and a little bit higher weight to athleticism and blocking and things of that nature. But really, really similar. We're going to be talking about a lot of the same traits that we would talk about with the wide receiver position. And with all that being said, let's jump right in. And we will start with release and route running like we typically do with pass catchers, because you still, tight end, their routes are a little bit less nuanced most of the time. Sometimes it's just let me run in a straight line and be faster than a linebacker, or let me pretend to block and then leak out. So it's different, but route running is still important. You got to get open. So I'm going to start with you, Jackson. What's your favorite thing that you saw from Kenyon Sadiq as a route runner?
Favorite thing, honestly, was for me his explosion off the line. I thought that he had a really nice release. Oftentimes looked like a wide receiver at the release point. I gave him a 6.5 for route running, though. I thought overall, like there were some routes that I felt like he exploded well. He got in and out of his breaks really well. He was able to get the correct leverage, but a lot of the times when I was watching Sadiq, it felt like it was a mixed bag to me. I don't know. I felt like he sometimes struggled to sink his hips. He sometimes rounded off some of his routes. He wasn't the most precise route runner. He did what he needed to do to get open, and I think that more favored his athleticism than it did anything else. But for me, he was slightly above average in route running. This wasn't a weakness for him, but it's not going to be one of the strongest traits for me that we talk about tonight.
Rupert, I want to cue you in here because I know because we both talked about Sadiq on the FFT Dynasty podcast last week, and you and I viewed his route running a little bit differently, even as we prepared for that show. So chime in there, Rupert. What did you notice here?
Yeah, I really liked his route running. He's just so explosive and hard for any kind of linebacker to keep up with him. What I thought was most impressive was his explosiveness when he had his hand in the ground. He's able to release so quick and get out on his routes and set up the linebackers with a quick move. So I thought like his release from inline was really, really good. And like he does round his routes on occasion, but I also saw instances where he has like a really sharp in route and he almost looks like a wide receiver out there. So he really flashes high end level route running for me for a tight end. So I gave him a 7.5 here. I would have gone 8.5 if it was more consistent.
Yeah, see, to me, I saw more than the occasional rounded route, and I thought those flashes that you mentioned were pretty few and far between. I mean, I saw 4 or 5 games, however many we had in the film room, and maybe 2 or 3 instances of like a really crisp route. So for me, I gave him a 6 because I see the upside is there. He shows it at least sometimes. And I know athletically he has the quickness to snap in and out of his breaks. I think it's a technique thing. I mean, it's his first year starting. I don't think he has the nuances of route running down yet. I think he rounds a ton of routes. I mean, there were so many plays that I felt like he's matched up man to man against the linebacker. It should be an easy win for him. If he, runs straight, threatens deep, gets the guy on his heels, snaps out of the break, he's going to be wide open. But because he rounds it off, he stays covered. So I think we're going to have a lot of positive things. I'm going to have a lot of positive things to say about Sadiq on this show. Overall, my grade for him is really high. That to me is his weak area. I think, and it's overall, I'm encouraged saying that, which sounds weird because I love a good route runner. But I'm like, if he's so good at everything else, and this is something that's actually coachable and technique and can improve, and he's got the physical ability to be a good route runner, that's like the sky's the limit for him. But I think there's just a ton of room for technical improvement. That's
No,
it's pretty consistent to me on tape.
No, that's kind of where I ended up being. Like, I don't think it's a skill issue because I've got him graded high for his athleticism traits, right? The speed, the burst, the quickness, like those are all good grades for me. I would 100% agree with you. I think it is a technique issue, and I honestly think it's something he's going to get fixed at the next level. Like, it's not something that overly concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, at the tight end position too, like you can still be really productive without being a really nuanced, precise, technical route runner, especially if you are as athletic as he is. So it's not a deal breaker, but I think, yeah, it's just like I feel like I would be disingenuous to sit out here and say he's like above NFL average as a route runner right now. He just needs a lot of development in that area, in my opinion. So 6 for me. Well, let's move on to our next trait here, and this is an interesting one. Okay, so we're going to talk ball skills. We're going to talk hands, contested catch radius, body control. Um, and the reason I say this is an interesting one is because I liked most of what I saw on film here, but the PFF numbers, at least for hands, not great. 10.5% drop rate, bottom 25 in all of FBS. So maybe he dropped passes in a bunch of games that we didn't chart. I didn't see a whole lot of drops. I'll throw it to you first, Rupert. What did you notice here? You're muted.
It definitely seems like the drops must have happened in games that we didn't watch, because I think I charted one. I gave him 8 for hands. I thought he showed good technique with snatching the ball away from his body. I gave him an 8 for ball tracking as well on deep down the field. I thought he tracked it well, was able to make adjustments. I gave him a 7.5 for a contested catch. Not his strongest area, but I still thought he did really well here. And then 7.5 for his catch radius. So I really liked a lot of things that he showed in his with his hands. Kind of shocking to hear that number, because that's quite high. I think KC Concepcion had a similar drop rate, but I actually saw that more on film. So I'd be interested if we get more than the 5 games we have to watch tomorrow, 22.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked that that's what his drop rate was, because the games that I watched, he was catching passes that, like, I feel like he probably shouldn't have come down with, right? Like the diving catches, the high pointing the ball, the go up and get it mentality. I mean, that's all over his film. I gave him an 8.5 for catch radius and a 9 for body control. I mean, I just saw so many instances of him like on like a streak route, diving and catching the ball fully extended. Like I saw instances of him going up and contorting his body and high pointing the ball. I mean, like he's going to test well athletically. He's got some explosion that shows up all over his ball skills. I'm with Rupert. I gave him a 7.5 for contested catch and an 8 for hands. I think he's got really strong hands. I think he attacks the ball well in the air. So honestly, a 10% drop rate is shocking to me.
So here's some context. I mean, for one thing, he's a tight end. So with Concepcion, you're probably talking about like 100 plus targets, right? With that drop rate. Here, you're talking about what did I say earlier? He had 51 catches on 67 targets. So a few drops can boost up the percentage more because it's a lower overall number. So I think that's worth noting. And I think with Concepcion, we were saying, hey, it's not just some concentration drops here and there. It's a technique issue. It's a pervasive technique issue where he's letting the ball into his body. I didn't see that technique issue with Kenyon Sadiq. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Did not see that technique issue with Kenyon Sadiq. So I think we have, to me, a consensus there that none of us saw an issue technically with his hands that we think is going to translate and be a problem at the next level. I didn't give him like an 8 and say, oh, he had great hands, but it was fine. I gave him a 7. Thought his hands were good. He also has a 58% contested catch rate, which is really good. So I had him at an 8 for contested catch, 8 for catch radius, 9 for body control. What you were saying, like diving, contorting, laying out on the sideline, toe tapping, like all of the things that you want to see from an athletic standpoint were there. And yeah, I also gave him a high score for ball tracking. So across the board, I thought his ability to catch the ball and even catch ones like you said that he maybe shouldn't have caught was a real strength. I was pleasantly surprised here. Not surprised. I didn't have any expectations coming in. I was impressed. I'll say that. I was impressed. And overall, if you're new to the channel, 6 is NFL average. 7 is good for an NFL player. 8 is great even by NFL standards. We don't give out 9s or 10s unless you're like pretty elite at something. So I gave him a 9 for body control. I thought that was a real strength for him. And yeah, overall, really, really strong ability to catch the ball. I thought, in spite of these PFF numbers. One PFF number I forgot to mention. We were talking about route running earlier. He had a 69 PFF grade for receiving, which is middle of the road. And he had 1.62 yards per route run, which is not a good number, bottom 30% in FBS. So I think that speaks a little bit as well to the route running issues that we mentioned, because I think if he's a crisp route runner with his athleticism, that yards per route run number should be one of the top in the nation. Like he's just too much of a mismatch for linebackers and safeties. So all that being said, before we get into the second half of the show here, let's take a quick break. And I got to let you guys know about the great resources we have at couchscouts.com. The link will be in our bio. We have a free community Discord that'll also be linked in the bio. No strings attached on that. We just want to get to know the people that listen to our show. But on the website, we have a bonus podcast that we release every single week just for our members, going over some of the more under the radar names that we won't talk about on the main show. We've got a rookie guide that we are working so hard on to get, by the end, we'll have 60 plus, maybe even 70 plus prospects with detailed scouting reports, rankings, our recliner rating, which is our proprietary film grading system that we're referencing here on the show. All of our grades will be on the rookie guide. It's got everything that you need. It's the ultimate cheat sheet to dominating your rookie draft. We do hundreds of hours of research so that you don't have to. And the results over the last few years have been really, really good. And we've got it in a sleek new web-based app for you guys this year. So lots and lots to be excited about, more that I didn't even talk about here, but check it out, couchscouts.com. You can get in there for as little as $5 a month. It comes out to $60 for a year for our basic package. And I think we pack so much value into that thing. So check it out. Right now we're running a promo code because we just released our rookie guide to the public this week. So use code GUIDE for 30% off and sign up for your first year with Couch Scouts. All that being said, let's get into the second half of the show. We still got to talk about yards after the catch. We got to talk about athleticism. And for the tight end, we don't usually do a whole segment on this for wide receiver, but for the tight end, we need to talk about blocking. Especially, I think, for Sadiq, being listed at 6'3", 245 pounds. That's a little on the undersized tweener side for a tight end. So whether he can block or not, I think matters for him being on the field as much as we want him to be on the field. So let's get into it. We'll start with yards after the catch. I'll throw it to you first, Jackson. What did you notice here?
Yeah, really positive numbers when it came to his yards after the catch. And this directly translates to all the athleticism that we were talking about. I gave him a 7.5 for yards after the catch. I think his ability to just be a nightmare mismatch in the open space. And then once he gets the ball in his hands, he just knows what to do with it. He's really physical. After the catch, he's able to run through tackles. He's able to just gain the extra yards. So really positive numbers here for me for that. I thought he's just a really plus level athlete. We're going to get to that in just a second. So he's going to be somebody that, especially in tight end premium leagues, is going to get you a good amount of points. I mean, this is somebody that I'm really excited about, and yards after the catch definitely plays into that.
Absolutely agree. He's dynamic once he gets the ball in his hands. Again, combines that kind of freak athleticism with good physicality. Like, I don't know how many times he hurdles guys like in the open field. He can also like juke you. Like he's quick for his size. So I thought he had good vision. So really plus area for him.
Yeah, definitely. I remember one play, he catches it and looks like he gets stonewalled on like the 2-yard line. You guys know what I'm talking about? And I mean, I thought he was dead to rights. I thought he was down, and somehow he keeps his balance, stays on his feet, powers through a couple of guys, and gets into the end zone. I mean, this dude, even if you want to throw the undersized or tweener label on him, he's strong as an ox. Like, just look at any picture of the dude. He looks like Captain America out there. Like he's jacked. He's probably like a 2% body fat on those 245 pounds. It's straight up muscle. So he's freak. And yeah, like you said, Rupert, he doesn't move like a tight end should move. He's quick. He's got the burst to defeat angles. He's got, he's hurdling people. He's breaking tackles. It's really good. So 4.9 yards after catch per attempt in 2025. It's just an okay number. 8 missed tackles forced in 2025. Again, just an okay number. But all of that has to be contextualized with, like, we've been talking about wide receivers. So those would be bad numbers if we were talking about a wide receiver. But again, we're talking about a tight end. They're catching it in different situations. They're 30 to 40 pounds heavier than the wide receivers that we were talking about. They're not getting as many targets typically. So unless you're Harold Fannin last year, just putting up freakish reception numbers in college, that's not the norm. 16 out of 61 targets for Kenyon Sadiq came behind the line of scrimmage. So probably speaks a little bit to the route running issue that I talked about earlier, but it also, I think, speaks to Oregon just wanted to get the ball in his hands because they knew if they could get the ball in his hands, good things would happen. So, yeah, I really liked this area after the catch, and I believe I had him at a 7.5 for this. Could have gone easily to an 8. But yeah, this was a strength. And all the nice things we've said about him, we still haven't talked about his biggest strength, which is his athleticism. I mean, we've kind of hinted at it. It's hard to talk about any other area of his game without talking about his athleticism. But let's talk about it for real now. Game speed, burst, quickness. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than he does not move like a tight end. I had him at an 8.5 in all 3 of these areas. Was very tempted to go to 9 in a couple of them. He outruns linebackers up the seam easily. He gets up to top speed quickly, and he can change direction in a way that just shouldn't happen when you're almost 250 pounds. So he's twitchy. That he's like he's built in a lab. I mean, it's insane. So I'm sure you guys probably don't have a whole lot to add to that, but I'll throw it to you, Rupert.
Couldn't agree more. I went 8.5 for his game speed, 9 for burst, 9 for quickness. Like he's, for reference, we have Vernon Davis as like our 10, like our gold star for those things for a tight end, and he's so close to that. He's going to be a problem at the NFL level.
You know, I'm right there with you guys. I gave him an 8.5 for game speed. He can, for a tight end, he can honestly take the top off the defense sometimes. It's kind of impressive to watch. 9 for burst. I mean, the dude absolutely explodes off the line of scrimmage. I only gave him an 8 for quickness. And I know I'm saying only there, like 8's a bad score. It's not. I knocked that down. The reason I didn't have him in an 8.5 is just because of the break, like the top of the route, the stem of the route issues that I saw. I didn't see him explode there as much. I had a hard time giving him an 8.5, but I mean, this is gonna be a guy that's a high RAS score guy. Like his vertical is intense. Like he might have one of the highest verticals, if not the highest vertical in the class. I mean, he's just an explosive athlete, and it's all over his film.
Yeah. If he even tests. I mean, so for those of you listening that maybe don't know, RAS, it's relative athletic score. They take all the different combine measurements, they adjust it for size, and it spits out like a total number, scale of 1 to 10. And he's probably going to be pretty close to a 10 out of 10 on that thing if he tests. Honestly, he doesn't have to because it seems like he's a lock to go in the first round regardless. So he might just not bother with it. But I hope he does because it would be really fun to see him do the testing. Yeah, so he's an athlete. And I know we kind of knocked the route running a little bit, at least Jackson and I did. And so if you're used to scouting wide receivers, you're going to go, okay, well, if he can't run routes and he's not a separator and he's just an athlete, we don't like that profile in a wide receiver. We don't like it at all. But I really, truly think it's different at this position. I think he's a good enough route runner. I clearly see the path to him improving in that area significantly at the next level. And I just think he's too much of a mismatch. And there's a reason he's going to go in the first round. I feel pretty confident in him as a fantasy asset. And, you know, athleticism also matters more to the tight end position. Go back and look through the history of like elite fantasy tight ends. They all were elite athletes. They all were mismatches running up the seam for a linebacker where you're like too big for a defensive back, too fast for a linebacker. Like that's that's what makes a tight end a really good fantasy tight end. But one more thing we got to talk about, and that's blocking. Now, blocking doesn't score you fantasy points. It does keep you on the field if you're too much of a liability. You're almost looking for a sweet spot, because if you're too good at blocking, they'll ask you to do it too often, and that'll hurt your fantasy output. And if you're not good enough at blocking, they might take you off the field. So we're almost looking for kind of like just an all right blocker, like good enough. But he had a 66.3 run blocking grade, which is top 15% in FBS. He had a 70.4 pass blocking grade, which is top third in FBS. So pretty decent numbers in both of those areas. And what did you guys notice here? I'll throw it to you first, Rupert.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect. I think he's right in that sweet spot. Like, he's good at it, but not too good. I gave him a 7.5, and hearing those PFF numbers, I think that lines up with what I saw. I thought he was good in the run blocking game. He clearly understands leverage very well. I think it helps too that he's 6'3" and get a little bit lower and get under those defensive ends a little bit easier. I saw him being pretty consistent in this area all throughout my tape watch.
Yeah, I also had him at a 7.5. So same score, and for the same reasons. I thought he especially was good, again, because he's so mobile. Like when he would pull and pull around the guard and kind of go in as the lead blocker with a head of steam, he could absolutely destroy whoever was standing in front of him and open up a big hole. Um, and I think this is where it matters that he's as rocked up as he is, because again, if you're 6'3", not and less than 250, you're considered undersized for a tight end. And so this is where comps come in, like an Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was never very good at blocking. He was always basically like a big slot player, which led to some good years for fantasy. But never, it kept him from being this guy that was like on the field for 90+% of snaps. But I think the difference is Evan Ingram was not like, he wasn't as strong as this guy. This guy is strong as an ox. And so I think even though he's a little bit lighter, he's still able to hold his own as a blocker because he's just so strong. And then, again, that ability to climb up to the second level with that speed and really get to the second level and be a lead blocker, I think is going to be a nice asset for an NFL team.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you guys. I gave him a 7.5 as well. I think he's a good blocker. He moves up the seam, up into the second level to block linebackers well. I think what makes it better is the fact that he's better as a receiver. He's better as an athlete downfield than he is as a blocker. He's not a terrible blocker, but he's better used as an athlete, as a pass catcher. So I think he's right there, what you're talking about, Rupert, right there in that sweet spot.
So when I look at my overall grade for him, he comes out at a 79.15, which, again, we've got a lot of new listeners, so I'm just going to say 80 and above is like elite fantasy producer. 75 to 79.9 is fantasy starter. So he's right there on the border between like a really high-end fantasy starter to having the potential to be an elite fantasy producer in my grading system. And I think you guys have it pretty similarly. None of us were too far apart on our grades. Obviously, there was the 7.5 route running for Rupert that was a good bit higher than the other two of us. But yeah, what were y'all's overall total grades for him?
Yeah, I had him at a 79.8, right there on the verge of being an elite dynasty asset, and I feel pretty comfortable having him there.
Yeah, and Rupert, you're muted again, so I'm just going to read your score. You are at a 79.5, so we're all right there in the 79 point something range, right? Like we're very, very close on our scores. The composite between the three of us is 79.48. So we all think he's going to be a really nice fantasy asset. To me, I have him in the same tier with Concepcion, who we talked about last week, who we all really liked. I think depending on the tight end premium, I could see putting Sadiq at 6 or Concepcion at 6. I think they kind of go hand in hand for me and are pretty interchangeable depending on your scoring settings and your team need and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a player that I'm in on. Do either of you guys have a comp for Kenyon Sadiq?
I mean, I didn't scout Vernon Davis, but he definitely reminds me watching him just like that top level, like looks like a wide receiver with a tight end rocked up body out there.
Well, I've got a comp for him. I think that Kenyon Sadiq is who the Dynasty community wanted Kyle Pitts to be.
Okay. Well, they both are freak athletes, so we can at least put that there. Yeah, Vernon Davis, I just looked it up, was 6'3", 250, so almost the same height, weight, body build. So yeah, I like that comp a lot. So with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Definitely hope you walk out of your drafts with some Kenyon Sadiq shares. And if you haven't already, leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Jump in that free community Discord. Come hang out with us. We love getting to know the people that listen to our show. And make sure you check out couchscouts.com to see all the great resources and tools we've got over there. Don't forget promo code GUIDE for 30% off your first year. And we hope you guys have a blessed week. We'll see you next week.